Priage, brothers and sisters, and friends. And I see some enemies. In fact, we'd be fooling ourselves if we had an audience this large and didn't realize that there were some enemies present. This afternoon we want to talk about the ballot or the bullet. We must understand the politics of our community, and we must know what politics is supposed to produce. We must know what politics play a part in our lives, and until we become politically mature, we will always be misled, led astray, or deceived or maneuvered into supporting someone politically who doesn't have the good of our community at heart. We will have to carry on a program, a political program, of re-education to open our people's eyes, make us become more politically conscious, politically mature, and whenever we get ready to cast our ballot, that ballot will be cast for a man of the community who has the good of the community at heart. We're all in the same bag, in the same boat. We suffer political oppression, economic exploitation, and social degradation, all of the same enemy. The government has failed us, and the white liberals have been posing as our friends have failed us. And once we see that all other sources to which we have turned failed, we stop turning to them and turn to ourselves. We need a self-help program, a do-it-yourself philosophy, a do-it-right-now philosophy. Before we can get a self-help program started, we have a self-help philosophy. Once you change your philosophy, you change your thought pattern. Once you change your thought pattern, you change your attitude. Once you change your attitude, you change your behavior pattern, and then you go into some social action. This is why it's the ballot or the bullet. It's liberty or it's death. It's freedom for everybody or freedom for nobody. You don't have a revolution in which you are begging the system of exploitation to integrate you into it. Revolutions overturn systems. Revolutions destroy systems. So it's the ballot or the bullet. This government has failed us. Any kind of act that's designed to delay or deprive you and me right now of getting full rights, that's the government that's responsible. And anytime you find a government involved in a conspiracy to violate civil rights of a people, then you're wasting your time going to that government expecting redress. Instead, you have to take that government to the World Court and accuse it of genocide and all of the crimes that it's guilty today. The sender, Malcolm X, in his particular speech, the ballot or the bullet, comes with great personal involvement. The struggle and fight for equality has caused him to endure tragic sacrifice up to and including his life. No matter how aggressive his campaign is reflected through his speech, his sole purpose is to open the eyes of his people, the oppressed people, and to re-educate them. He is trying to give American people a fighting chance in a country that inherently belongs to us all. Malcolm X uses the impetuousness of the truth and aggressive diction to jolt life into slumbering democratic beasts, better known as the people. As Socrates was a midwife to internal knowledge, Malcolm X is the midwife for social activism in efforts of equality. His message was and still is of great importance, for inequality is as rampant today as it was 50 years ago. The gap, especially from an economic point of view, is widening so far that we cannot see the other side. His message is to invoke political education to give birth to political maturity. He is basically setting up a fundamental of ideals and political understanding of an individual's place in democracy. Malcolm X is trying to deliver that very difficult message, that politicians don't see us as people, but simply commodity, and their route to wealth. The extreme and aggressive nature of his speech is used only to emphasize the seriousness of the situation and its timely need of action. In fact, he tells everyone that action is overdue and that they can only depend on themselves. The sender, the message, lend great support to the feedback. The audience would go from a quiet seriousness that was focused on every word that would come from lips of Malcolm X, to an uproar and outcry of overwhelming support when the great speaker would reach his main points. The conviction of his words would allow the audience to relate to the need of his message. He was addressing the pain and struggle of his audience. For this, they wanted more. The crowd recognized Malcolm as their leader, and they displayed great support as though they were in a small conversation with him. He invoked passion and helped oppressed people of America stand up for what's rightfully theirs. Done.